Hey guys, I just finished the Incredible Hulk book from the Marvel UK vaults, and I wanted to do a little video doing a little overview on it, a little bit more in depth. I really like this book. It took me a couple months to read it because of all things going on in my life and stuff, but yeah, I really like this book, so I think you guys should check it out. Okay, so Hulk from the UK vaults was published in May of 2013. I know that it collects Smash number 38 material from the Marvel Storybook Annual from 1968. Also some material from Hulk Comics 1 through 6, 9 through 20, 26 to 28. I don't know why it skips like that, but it does. Comes from some material comes from Incredible Hulk Annual Authorized Edition from 1980, Hulk Annual 1981, all the way to 1985. The Superheroes Annual from 1991 and material from a Marvel Superheroes Annual in 1992. These are British created Hulk comics, and prose stories are in here as well. I picked this baby up at the flea market one day on the cheap with a Thor and Iron Man epic collection. $20 for all three, so it was a really good deal, especially considering how much content we're getting. And I had seen the book before, and it has always piqued my interest, as foreign comics have always been intriguing to me. I remember standing there at the table full of all the trade paperbacks that this guy was selling, and I was flipping through this book. I would go to other books, and I'd come back to this book, and he saw how much I liked it. So I guess that's why he gave me such a good deal with all the other books, so he kind of threw this one in. I like seeing that there were so many variations in the art. Some of it looked drawn, some of it looked painted, some of it looked like photography. Some of it was in color, some of it was just black and white. And the prose section of the books, coupled with the beautiful art, it felt like something new, and I just had to have it. It took me quite a few sittings to read this book because of how short the comics were, and it was easy to pick it up and read a couple stories and then put it down. The stories were also rarely connected with each other, and that kind of promotes the kind of reading that I had been doing with this book. Kind of why it took me so long to read, but it's a good thing. Speaking about the interconnectivity of the book, the very first story is from Smash number 38, and that takes place right after Avengers number 3. At least that's what the book tells me, so it's pretty good that it tells you all the years of the books that you're reading. And you can see it too in the covers before you read the next story. I like that it includes the covers. That's a very big plus. Anyways, it's interesting to see how that story reads together with Avengers 3, or preceding or coming after Avengers 3, sorry. Since the story was published in October 1966, 3 years after Avengers 3 was printed. And I know that the Hulk quit the Avengers team in the second issue, and the third issue involves the team seeking him out again. Making sure he doesn't do any harm. I know because I have the Volume 1 omnibus of the original Avengers comics by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. The first couple of comic issues in this book, the artwork has a style of thinner penciling, and it is really refreshing to see that the artwork style changes a lot throughout the book, keeps everything new, and it works because the stories are mostly self-contained. You can see that the only parts of the books that are colored are the covers for each comic that you're about to read and the prose sections of the book, save for a couple comics from the annuals that are towards the latter half of the book. The Hulk in this book is drawn much leaner than in the depictions that we're used to seeing him, which is cool, and I'm particularly fond of his look in the first half, especially because of how lean he looks. I really like that look. There's a specific issue that I really like. I think I'll show you my favorite panel where he fights a crocodile or alligator. And there's like a real sense of realism, since it looks like the Hulk from the 1980s TV show that ran from, I believe, 1977 to 1982 with Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno. The Hulk looks just like that Hulk, except for Lou's ugly mug. Sorry, Lou. He gets bulkier as you read further in the book, but not by much. And the penciling also gets a little bit thicker, which is cool. The prose parts of the books are very enjoyable for me. It is a different way of seeing our favorite green hero in your head and not in the panels. So that's something different. I really like that. I liked the freedom of, creating the environments in my head and all that stuff. Just whatever happens in your head whenever you start reading. It's really cool. Some of the stories and the prose stories seem to be inspired by the TV as well, and the covers give it away in the artwork because you see Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno's Hulk and stuff like that. There are some that are inspired from just the comics themselves or just science fiction. Although I will say that this whole collection has very sparse inclusions of other Marvel characters or references, but I'll touch on that later. I noticed as I was reading that book that there was more and more aliens and spacecraft and spacemen in the early 80s issues annuals, and I think that has something to do with the release of the Star Wars movies at that time, especially the last two, Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. But maybe it's just a coincidence. The villains in the story range from bullfighters, the matadors, to giant wolfmen, to thieves, to the U.S. Army, to the abominable snowman, to alien blobs. It's always clever the way that the authors put the Hulk in trouble, and it was even more clever the way that they got him out of it. And the Hulk always wins. Spoiler alert. I found the prose parts of the collection to be the most violent, or is that just because of how much my mind adds to the reading experience? Don't really know. Okay, now a couple of the story covers feature the heroes like Captain America or the Black Knight or Moon Knight, but I was disappointed to find out that they are not actually in the stories themselves that are collected in this book. And this part of the collection is very lame to me. I wish they came out with more UK collected editions where these stories are featured, but they haven't made those yet. I know, I have checked. There are some references to adamantium and Rick Jones in the comics, and I know Rick Jones is in a couple of prose stories. So despite my complaints about the lack of other Marvel characters, though, this collection does end with a bang. So in the second to last story, coming from the Superheroes Annual 1991, that story does feature Namor, the Submariner, and Lady Dorma in a prose story called War Beneath the Waves, where Bruce is trying to cure himself and he may have a chance with some ancient Atlantean ruins that has some like gamma radiation coming from it. And that's how he's able to find it in like a submarine or something like that. And he comes across Namor, and of course trouble ensues. And it's a good two-parter, but pales in comparison with the very last story. All right, so spoiler alert: if you're interested in getting this book, I would say stop watching right now, because I'm about to spoil the last story, which was just so badass, and it just had me cheering and stuff. It was so cool. Okay, so just some context. After reading the Namor story, the last story is called Annihilator, and it comes from Marvel Superheroes Annual 1992. And it featured some art with several heroes on 2 pages, so I started to hope that the story would actually contain another hero, since the story before had Namor on it, and he's actually in the story. So I was like, okay, maybe I can get some heroes in this. And I didn't know who the Annihilator was. And as I was reading, I saw a picture of the Annihilator, and I thought that it might have been one of the characters from the Inhumans book that I had read earlier that comes and attacks the city or something like that. But no, that's not who it is. But anyways, I was not disappointed about other heroes in this story. So the story begins with someone being crushed by a giant wooden column and pinned down near where a secret shield base has vanished, and where the Annihilator is like wreaking havoc and stuff. And we later find out that this is Rick Jones narrating the story. Okay, so here comes Captain Britain, and he fights off the Annihilator. And the Annihilator is like this giant armored guy and has energy bursting around him. And he's just like this crazy figure wreaking havoc and stuff. But Captain America's like blows are to no avail. Captain Britain is defeated, And then suddenly the Quinjet appears carrying Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man. And that was so cool seeing them, or like, reading them coming out and stuff. And they also fail to stop the Annihilator. And while Thor and Iron Man are trying to fight the Annihilator, Captain America is trying to get civilians to safety when none other than the Human Torch flies over to help along with the rest of the mission. And along come the rest of the Fantastic Four. And now I was like, whoa. So I got to emphasize that this Annihilator guy is super strong. And Thor has fought him like on 2 separate, rounds, I guess I would say, with his lightning and his hammer and everything, and nothing's working. And so the Annihilator guy is like super strong. And no attack from anybody is phasing him, not even the Thing, not even Thor, Captain Britain, nobody. Iron Man either. Captain Britain comes to his senses, and then he rescues Rick Jones, who explains the situation. And then he tells them that Bruce Banner had been trying to find a way to get rid of the Hulk at this secret shield facility, and then something went terribly wrong. They were trying out like a molecular web that was like laced in the armor that was trying to like pull the energy from the Hulk, but instead it got his energy got infused with the armor, and he was not able to get out. And this armor is made out of, you guessed it, adamantium. And this causes like an interdimensional explosion for some reason that like vanishes the whole shield facility and everyone inside, and causes all this destruction. And of course, Reed Richards figures out how to take the device, or make a device that needs the power of Iron Man and Thor to power, and then to separate the Hulk from the armor. And also to bring back the facility with the Nick Fury in there and stuff. And the plan works, and the Hulk is calmed by Captain Britain playing Rick Jones' guitar. So of course in this UK comic, it has the UK hero defeat the Hulk. Anyways, I really liked how this story played out with so many unexpected heroes, and how the Hulk was actually the villain of this story. It was very different, change of pace. And I was cheering and twitching the whole time, like geeking out and stuff. The whole time I read this story, and I was pumping my fist at several points. So it's really cool, and overall I really like this book, and I highly recommend it. Very fun read, very, very different than anything I've ever read. So I highly, highly recommend it. Check it out, guys. Incredible Hulk from the UK Vaults.